Partnerships are vital to our global outreach, enabling us to take the love and hope of Jesus Christ to those who need it most. Our Boots on the Ground Partnership Program physically ministers to those in desperate situations all over the world. The Israel Partnership furthers Kim's legacy of outreach to Israel and Jewish people worldwide. We invite you to become a partner today. Join us today and be part of a community that inspires hope, brings restoration to life, and often healing from the past. Together, we can make a difference, and we thank you for your ongoing support.
Hello, House of Destiny, and welcome yet again to Real Life, Real Faith. I am joined, as always, by Pastor Fah, and we are on our third week of having the amazing Dr. Victoria Timm joining us in studio. Today, we are speaking about kind of a controversial topic, which I'm sort of loving already. And again, the reason that we do this is because we're talking about real stuff. That's what it is. And there's always going to be people that agree and people that disagree. But we're just trying to open the conversation up so that everybody isn't too afraid to ask the question. Good. So I've explained this to you. For those of you that have watched the last 2 weeks, you will know. If this is your first week watching us with Dr. Timm, she has got her PhD in clinical psychology. She's a brilliant, brilliant woman. She's got her own practice in South Africa where she is helping people. She specializes in a variety of different things. But the thing that we're going to bring up today, and this is what Pastor Fah was talking about with us off camera just before we started, was what about Christians and medication when it comes to mental health? So, Pastor Fah, I know there's something you wanted to potentially read, and then we can give it to Dr. Timm.
I will. If I can share a little testimony,
yes,
because this whole subject's so important to me. Anxiety seems to run in. My wife suffered from it right as a child. My daughter, youngest daughter, as well, and it's crippling. I've experienced it, and it is literally crippling. But regarding medication, my wife, when she finally got on medication, which was many years ago, probably 20 plus years ago, things really changed for her. I like to ride a motorcycle in places where there's not a lot of cars. But one day after she got on her medication, she said, I would like to go for a ride with you. That's not anything I'd ever coax anyone to do because there is an element of danger to it. But she got so, I guess, sort of free or relaxed and we've enjoyed that together for 20 plus years. But I know medication has a flip side, but I just want to say this as a pastor, that I've seen a lot of people get on medication. And of course, Dr. Timm, we turn it over to you here, but it seems that especially if they're going through a rough time, it can really help them get over that time and onward to healing. So, do you prescribe medication?
I don't. I'm a psychologist, not a psychiatrist.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But obviously, I've seen people who've been put on medication while they've been with me, and it can be extremely useful. It can turn when I work with the cognitive behavior therapy, which is looking at thinking patterns, suddenly their thoughts become clearer, and it's easier for them to use the techniques that I can teach them. So their minds become clearer, and it can actually turn people around. As you say, sometimes it doesn't, and then maybe they're on the wrong meds, and they have to go back to the psychiatrist to find out what medication. Do they need to tweak the dose? Do they need to go onto something else? But to feel guilty about going onto something that can actually be useful, and as you say, can open up a whole new area of life, of fun for you, riding a motorbike. Why not? Why not use it?
My daughter couldn't even drive the freeway. She was so anxious. So it's so much more than people realize, isn't it?
Yeah, and for sure. And the more serious conditions, you have to have the medication.
Yes.
Otherwise, you will not fulfill your potential.
Yes.
And that's what we're wanting people to do, is to have a full life and to be able to fulfill their potential.
Yes.
And if you can do that on medication, you wouldn't have a query if somebody's diabetic and they're
Yes.
taking medication for that.
Yes.
You don't query if somebody has cancer and they have surgery or they have chemo. So for me, it's difficult to differentiate then why not for mental health, because the mind is part of your body.
Yes.
Your serotonin levels are part of your body. Hormones, part of your body. So cortisol levels. So why not use something that's going to help you to bring those into kilter so
Yes.
that you can fulfill what it is that God had planned for your life?
On the flip side, I just want to encourage the people. My youngest daughter, who's been on it for many years, is completely off it now. I think it's important that you realize that our position is we just want to get to the abundant life that Jesus has for us. And there's nothing wrong with, but everything right, taking medication if it's necessary. It's beautiful that she's gotten off it. My wife has gotten off it. She went through a situation where she was taking gabapentin, and that really threw her for a loop. So she had to get back on the antidepressant medication because of the gabapentin, which was for nerve damage. Anyway, she's much better now, but I just want to say, again, because people hear us talk about medication and say, well, you're not of faith, if you're talking about
Yes.
medication. And but maybe I can toss this out for you girls, and for Dr. Timm especially, Christie. It says, I'm a born-again Christian. I'm serving in my local church in the youth department. For the past 3 to 4 years, I'm struggling with anxiety and panic attacks. I've had those.
Yeah.
They're no fun.
They're no fun.
I'm struggling with porn and lust addictions, which is ruining my life. There is pain inside me I can't explain. Something is not right with me. Constant fear has hold of me. I want to realign my heart to God, but something is pulling me down. I feel like due to my sins, even God has turned away his face away from me and his favor from me. Can you kindly pray for me? Listen to this. Can you cast demons out of me? I believe in that.
Yes, of course.
But maybe you guys can talk about that a little bit. Can you pray for me so that I can find peace and favor in the Lord?
And
anyway,
this is the thing.
troubling.
I'm gonna hand this to Dr. Timm in a minute, but I think from my uneducated, just having watched a lot of psychology lectures and spoken with Dr. Timm a lot, to me this sounds like a pattern of thinking issue, and she'll be able to speak more to that. But to me, what it would seem like on the surface is that this person obviously has anxiety, which means they're probably seeking dopamine from somewhere and to try and feel happy somehow, which is probably where the lust issues come in. So I'm not saying that in any judgment. I'm saying it with compassion.
Yeah.
I don't know that there's a demon that needs to be cast out of this person. I think they probably, from at least what I can tell, they're needing help.
For sure, and that's where, she's saying she doesn't understand, she doesn't, that's what psychology can actually do. It can help her look at, okay, what is actually driving this? Are you self-medicating with the addictions?
Yes.
Are you trying to reduce your anxiety levels through that? Where is your anxiety coming from? Panic attack is fear of fear, so it's been there for this person for a long time. It started off as an anxiety, and then it goes into even being afraid of being afraid. That's when you actually do need help and need somebody to talk through this. And there's also techniques and things that she can learn, and ways of thinking, depending on what the situation, where it's actually coming from with her and where it originated. And what her actual triggers are for her anxiety, and medication can be useful. Obviously, you have to do it under supervision with somebody that knows what they're doing, obviously. But there's no need to be to feel guilty or whatever about that, because with all the people that we were talking about in terms of Elijah, in terms of Moses, we're like, it's positive and negative together in one person. we have weaknesses and we have strengths.
Yes.
Even anxiety is a normal emotion. We all feel it. We've all been over anxious. We've all been panicked in certain situations. And anxiety being the normal emotion, you actually need it to run away from something. If you're being chased, you need it for motivation in exams. And it's also usually anxiety disorders, not always, but they can be attached to people with type A personalities, which means they achieve a lot, they're very goal-orientated, they're driven. So in actual fact, your anxiety can be the flip side of the same coin. It can also be your strength if you learn how to get it flying in formation, as opposed to out of control, which is very unpleasant, which is what the author of that email
I
is
heard something in the last year that I never heard before. Our secrets will make us sick. And I think it probably had a lot to do with Alcoholics Anonymous and those kind of groups. But I thought that's brilliant, because we have a tendency, this individual, fortunately, they just shared what they're struggling with, and how many people don't. And as a result of that, it's just darkness, You can't tell everybody your problems and your secrets, perhaps, but you've got to find someone to be able to confess, which is kind of scary, but is healing at the same time.
It is healing. And there's also, we think about, it immediately makes me think about the scriptures where we're told, it says, confess your sin to one another and find mercy.
Yeah.
And there's a power in that. There's a power in speaking out the truth and telling somebody your darkness. And again, I'm not advocating for a moment that you go on X or Facebook and say, dear world, these are my issues. Behold them, because we're always going to find people who are judgmental. You're always going to run into judgment. But something that I just want to bring this back to, firstly, the author of that email, very bold, very brave. Even that is taking a step, seeking help. And like Dr. Timm was saying, there's clearly something triggering the anxiety and the panic attack. I know I've suffered from panic attacks. They're absolutely awful. And I went to therapy for that to try and assist me. And I do, when I'm on planes in particular, I have a fear of flying, even though I've spent my entire life on airplanes. I was flying around from when I was born, literally, and I have this deep fear of it still, but I've got medication for when it's severe on planes. And then I do also, every single time I get onto a plane, I put my hand on the door, because I'm still a child that came from parents who had their theology from the 80s. And I put my hand on the plane door and I quote Psalm 91 as I walk to my seat. And I sit there and I start with, he who dwells in the shelter of the Most High, and I do it the whole way to my seat. Then I do Psalm 23. And I've got, a list of scriptures that I've got out that meditate on, my thoughts and peace and all these different things. But I also do take medication to be able to assist me. So the taboo surrounding medication, what about Christians and medication? Dr. Timm said it earlier, if you need it and it can help you, there's no shame attached to taking it. Again, we're not advocating for you running out, deciding you're your own pharmacist and taking your friend's medication, but reaching out for help is never a bad thing. And I'm hoping that in these shows, what we're able to do is help you not feel guilt and not feel shame. Dr. Timm said it as well. I'm just reiterating what she said. Nobody's going to look down on a diabetic for taking medication for diabetes. Nobody's going to look down on somebody for taking medication if they need help with back pain. And you're always going to get those out of the faith movement, like Pastor Fah said, where it's like, oh, well, you're not in faith. But, even when you look at the Levitical law, the priests had a pretty horrible job, actually. They constantly were examining skin problems. And, some of it that was prescribed was, even if you think about Hezekiah, Isaiah got this word. Hezekiah's life ended up being extended by 15 years, but he made some sort of weird poultice to put on the boil. And there was sort of a medicinal
medicine of the day.
Yeah, it was a medicine of the day. There was some kind of medicinal element that caused the boil to the abscess or boil, whatever it was, depending on which translation you read. It got rid of it, and Hezekiah's life was extended by 15 years. So there was prophecy, there was the word of the Lord that went out, and the prophet kind of had to be a doctor.
Right.
And so I just think it's so important for us in today's day and age, when Pastor Fah and I were just talking about how amazing it would be if so many churches that are spending so much money on so many things could have something like a group of Dr. Timms. I don't know how many of them you could find because they're quite special, but a little group of Dr. Timms to be able to help people, because people need help. We need one another, and we need to be able to be honest in the fact that we need help. And so that's the voice I hope that we're helping you to find. If you're struggling, please email us, realliferealfaith@houseofdestiny.org. We really do have a deep desire for people to be free and to be whole, and that's one of the reasons we have had Dr. Timm come on these shows, to be able to talk to you about just like little nuggets of truth. I wish that we had more time with her, but next week is actually our final episode with her, and then when she comes back next year to visit, I'm going to have to make sure we do this again and grab her for a couple more of these, because she's been great. But thank you so much for watching. Thank you for supporting us. If you've missed the last 2 weeks of what we did with her, I'm really encouraging you to go back and watch the last 2 weeks of Real Life, Real Faith. You can go to real-faith.tv and make sure you tune in for next week's episode as well, because it's going to be our final episode with her. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your support. Thank you for everything that you do for us, for being part of our community. God bless you, and we'll see you next week.
Basically, it's processing, and it's trying to get, your emotions, your feelings around this, not expecting too much of yourself, not avoiding those feelings, but trying to get that balance between grieving and moving on.
The enemy uses grief to cause intense isolation, which causes us to remove ourselves from community, because it can feel more isolating when you're around people that aren't understanding the way you are.
Right.
Everybody goes at a different pace. It's no use saying, okay, but it's 3 months now, you should be over it. I think we always grieve the person that we've lost. We adjust to it. And we learn to become functional and enjoy life again. But there's always that time when those pangs of grief can come back.
Yeah.
Something like an anniversary, something that you are then reminded of that loss. And that's okay.
We must carry the vision. It's like we have that purpose that we'll never get over it, but we get through it.
You ask and we listen. We're finally bringing the most requested offer ever. Get the queen size premium MyPillow, now only $19.98. MyPillow is made with patented adjustable fill. It adjusts to your exact individual needs regardless of your sleep position. It helps keep your neck aligned and holds its shape all night long, so you get the best sleep of your life. But that's not all. Get our 6-piece kitchen or bath towel sets, only $25. Our brand new mattress topper as low as $69.98. Get our famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get huge discounts on all MyPillow products, including the premium queen size MyPillow, only $19.98. That's the lowest price ever. Don't delay, order today. From all of us here at MyPillow, thanks America!
We here at the House of Destiny are partnering with you to let our viewers, of course, know about your company. It's Beverly Hills Precious Metal.
Andrew, explain how that works.
So I'll walk you through it right now. So if you go to bh-pm.com, right there on the homepage, you'll see a form that you could fill out. And that form is very important in letting us know how we can help you. So you just put in your first name, last name, email address, phone number. There's a section that says, how did you hear about us? And in there, put Kim Clement. And then there's a portion where you could write a couple of notes down on the bottom. Usually within about 24 to 48 hours, we'll contact you by phone call, and then we'll go over everything with you. This isn't a high pressure deal. We always recommend that if you feel uncomfortable, take a step back, pray about it. You will gain the answers that you need by doing that, and come back to us when you're comfortable.